It was a cloudy afternoon in Lexington, Kentucky. The muffled sounds of conversations and laughter filled the grand hall of Sturgess Auction House. There was a palpable energy in the air as buyers, armed with their clipboards and numbered paddles, prepared for another day of intense bidding. Among the numerous majestic and award-winning racehorses awaiting their new owners, there was one that, at first glance, didn't stand out. Silver Shadow, a gray horse with piercing eyes, stood nervously. His coat, though gleaming in the dim light, didn't have the luster of the others. He had been overlooked in most of the bids, a shadow amidst the brilliance of the more celebrated horses. His past was a mystery, and his stance reflected a lack of confidence that the others exuded. The auctioneer, a robust man with a thick mustache and a booming voice, began opening the bids. The pace was relentless, with numbers flying through the air and buyers nodding or shaking their heads in quick succession. One by one, the horses were sold, each fetching impressive sums that added to the excitement in the room. When it finally came time for Silver Shadow, there was a momentary silence, as if the room itself was holding its breath. "Ladies and gentlemen, our next item is Silver Shadow. Who will start the bidding?" The auctioneer's voice echoed through the hall, full of an optimism that seemed slightly out of place. Eyes diverted. No one seemed interested in Silver Shadow. The tension in the air grew, a palpable sense of anticipation mingled with uncertainty, until a firm voice broke the silence. $1,000, said a tall woman with a worn straw hat, raising paddle number 113. Her voice carried a note of determination, cutting through the quiet. Everyone turned to look. It was Clara, a local farmer known for her passion for abandoned animals. Her eyes shone with a mix of empathy and resolve, and her presence seemed to demand attention. With a determined look, she raised the bid every time someone dared to compete, her resolve unwavering. Finally, the hammer fell with a decisive thud. "Sold to the lady with the straw hat," the auctioneer announced, a hint of surprise in his voice. Clara approached Silver Shadow, her steps confident but gentle. She reached out, gently stroking his muzzle. "Come on, boy. You're safe now," she whispered, her voice soft and reassuring. Little did she know, this was just the beginning of a journey full of twists and turns, a path that neither of them could have anticipated. As she led Silver Shadow out of the auction house, Clara couldn't help but feel a strange connection with the horse. There was something in his eyes, a depth of emotion that resonated with her own experiences. She knew that this was more than just a simple purchase, it was the start of something profound. The morning sun peeked through the curtains of Clara's modest farmhouse, casting a warm glow over the wooden floorboards. Clara, already up and about, was eager to start her day with Silver Shadow. The previous day's events still lingered in her mind, but today was about settling her new friend into his new home. She walked out to the stable, breathing in the crisp morning air. Silver Shadow was waiting, his eyes watching her with a mix of curiosity and apprehension. Clara couldn't shake the feeling that there was something unique about him, something she couldn't quite put her finger on. As she groomed him, Clara noticed a peculiar mark on his flank, partially hidden under his gray coat. It was a small, crescent-shaped scar, barely noticeable unless you were looking closely. Her curiosity piqued, she gently touched the mark, causing Silver Shadow to flinch slightly. "Easy, boy. What happened to you?" she murmured, her mind racing with possibilities. The day passed uneventfully as Clara continued her chores, but the mark on Silver Shadow's flank stayed on her mind. Determined to find out more, she decided to visit the local veterinarian, Dr. Thompson, a man known for his expertise and discretion. Later that afternoon, Clara led Silver Shadow to Dr. Thompson's clinic. The veterinarian, a man in his early 50s with a kind face and a wealth of experience, greeted her warmly. "Clara, it's good to see you. What brings you here today?" he asked, his eyes assessing Silver Shadow. "I need you to take a look at something, document. I found this mark on him," Clara explained, pointing to the scar. Dr. Thompson examined the mark carefully, his brow furrowing in thought. This doesn't look like an ordinary injury. It appears to be a branding mark, but not one I've seen before. A branding mark? What does that mean? Clara asked, her concern growing. It means this horse might have a more complicated past than we thought, Dr. Thompson replied, a note of intrigue in his voice. I'll need to do some research to find out more. In the meantime, keep an eye on him and let me know if you notice anything else unusual. Clara nodded, feeling a mix of curiosity and unease. As she led Silver Shadow back to the farm, she couldn't help but wonder what secrets the horse might be hiding. The mysterious mark was just the beginning, and Clara was determined to uncover the truth. Next chapter, Hook. That evening, Clara received an unexpected visitor who claimed to know something about Silver Shadow's past, leading to revelations that would challenge everything she thought she knew. The following morning, as Clara prepared the stable for her new friend, a surprising discovery would change everything she knew about Silver Shadow. As evening fell over the tranquil farm, Clara sat on her porch, sipping a cup of hot tea and contemplating the day's events. Her mind kept drifting back to the mysterious mark on Silver Shadow and the questions it raised. The peaceful sound of crickets chirping was suddenly interrupted by the distant rumble of a car approaching. A dusty old sedan pulled up to Clara's farmhouse, and a tall, lanky man in his late 40s stepped out. He wore a weathered leather jacket and a hat pulled low over his eyes. Clara's curiosity was piqued as she watched him approach. "Evening, ma'am," the man said, tipping his hat politely. "Name's Henry. I heard you recently acquired a horse by the name of Silver Shadow." Clara nodded, her guard up. "That's right. What brings you here, Mr. Henry?" Henry glanced around, as if ensuring they were alone. "I reckon I know something about that horse that you ought to hear." Clara gestured for him to take a seat on the porch. "Go on, then. I'm listening." Henry sat down, removing his hat and revealing a face lined with years of hard living. "You see, Silver Shadow ain't just any horse. He's got a past, a complicated one." Clara's heart raced as she leaned in, eager to hear more. "What do you mean?" "That mark you found on him," Henry continued, "isn't just a random scar. It's a branding mark from a ranch out west, owned by a man named Samuel Turner. Turner ran an illegal horse racing operation, using underhanded methods to train and race his horses. Silver Shadow was one of his best, but something went wrong, and he ended up here." Clara's eyes widened in shock. "Illegal horse racing? Are you saying Silver Shadow was involved in that?" Henry nodded solemnly. "Turner was a ruthless man. He pushed those horses to their limits, and many didn't make it. Silver Shadow somehow escaped, but it seems his past has caught up with him." Clara's mind raced with conflicting emotions. She felt a surge of protectiveness for Silver Shadow, mixed with anger at the thought of him being mistreated. "Why are you telling me this?" she asked, her voice trembling slightly. Henry sighed, his expression softening. "Because I couldn't stand by and let you be unaware of the danger. Turner's men have been looking for Silver Shadow, and they won't stop until they find him. You need to be careful, ma'am." Clara's determination hardened. "Thank you for the warning, Henry. I'll make sure to keep a close eye on Silver Shadow. But I won't let anyone take him away from me." Henry nodded, standing up to leave. "You're a brave woman, Clara. Just be careful. Turner's men are dangerous, and they won't hesitate to do whatever it takes." As Henry's car disappeared into the night, Clara's resolve grew stronger. She knew she had to protect Silver Shadow at all costs. The mysterious mark was just the beginning, and the journey ahead would be fraught with challenges. But Clara was ready to face whatever came their way, determined to uncover the full truth about Silver Shadow's past. The following day, Clara received an unsettling message that hinted at the extent of the danger surrounding Silver Shadow, forcing her to make a difficult decision. The morning sunlight filtered through the barn's wooden slats, casting a warm glow over Silver Shadow as he grazed in the paddock. Clara watched him from the porch, her mind heavy with the events of the previous evening. The revelation about Silver Shadow's past and the warning from Henry had left her feeling uneasy. She knew the danger was real, and she couldn't afford to let her guard down. As Clara went about her daily chores, a knock on the door interrupted her thoughts. She opened it to find a young boy, no older than 12, holding a crumpled piece of paper. He looked nervous, shifting from foot to foot. "Miss Clara?" the boy asked, his voice trembling. "Yes, that's me. What can I do for you?" Clara replied, her curiosity piqued. The boy handed her the note. "A man told me to give you this. He said it was important." Clara took the note, unfolding it carefully. The message was hastily scrawled, but the words were clear enough to send a chill down her spine. "We know where he is. Leave the horse at the old oak tree by sunset, or there will be consequences." Her heart pounded as she read the note. The threat was real, and the stakes were higher than ever. Clara knew she had to make a decision, one that could change everything. Determined to protect Silver Shadow, Clara decided to seek advice from her trusted friend and neighbor, Sarah. Sarah was a strong-willed woman with a keen sense of strategy, and Clara hoped she could offer some guidance. As Clara explained the situation, Sarah listened intently, her brow furrowing with concern. "Clara, this is serious. You can't just hand Silver Shadow over to them. Who knows what they'll do to him?" "I know, Sarah, but what choice do I have? I can't risk anyone getting hurt because of this," Clara replied, her voice trembling with emotion. Sarah placed a comforting hand on Clara's shoulder. "We'll figure something out. We need to come up with a plan to keep Silver Shadow safe and deal with these men." The two women spent the afternoon devising a strategy. They decided to move Silver Shadow to a hidden location on Sarah's property, a secluded meadow surrounded by dense woods. It was a place where he could stay hidden while they worked on finding a more permanent solution. As the sun began to set, Clara and Sarah led Silver Shadow through the woods, their hearts heavy with the weight of their decision. The horse seemed to sense their unease, but he trusted Clara implicitly, following her without hesitation. Once they reached the meadow, Clara patted Silver Shadow's neck, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. "You're safe here, boy. We'll take care of you, I promise." Leaving Silver Shadow in the meadow, Clara and Sarah returned to the farmhouse, their resolve stronger than ever. They knew the road ahead would be fraught with challenges, but they were determined to protect Silver Shadow and uncover the truth about his past. The following morning, Clara and Sarah received a visit from an unexpected ally who offered to help them in their quest to protect Silver Shadow and bring the truth to light. The first light of dawn filtered through the trees, casting a soft glow over the farm. Clara and Sarah, weary but resolute, had barely slept a wink. They were determined to find a way to protect Silver Shadow and bring the truth to light. Just as they were preparing to set out for another day of planning and strategizing, a car pulled up to the farmhouse. A tall, distinguished-looking man stepped out. He was in his early 60s, with silver hair and a neatly trimmed beard. He wore a tailored suit, an unusual sight in these parts, and carried an air of quiet authority. Clara and Sarah exchanged curious glances as he approached. "Good morning, ladies. My name is Robert Harris," he said, extending a hand. "I believe we have a mutual interest in the well-being of a certain horse." Clara shook his hand, her curiosity growing. "Mr. Harris, what brings you here?" Robert smiled warmly. "I've been following the activities of Samuel Turner's operation for quite some time. When I heard about Silver Shadow's disappearance and subsequent appearance here, I knew I had to come." Sarah raised an eyebrow. "And how exactly do you fit into all of this, Mr. Harris?" "I'm a private investigator," Robert explained, pulling out a badge. "I've been working to expose Turner's illegal horse racing operation and bring him to justice. Silver Shadow is a key piece of evidence in my case." Clara's eyes widened. "So, you're saying Silver Shadow can help bring Turner down?" "Exactly," Robert replied, his expression serious. But we need to keep him safe and gather more evidence to ensure Turner's conviction. I've come to offer my assistance and protection." Clara and Sarah exchanged a glance, their relief palpable. "We could use all the help we can get," Clara said. "What do you suggest we do?" Robert nodded, his mind already working on a plan. "First, we need to move Silver Shadow to an even more secure location. I have a safe house where he can stay while we gather the necessary evidence. Second, we need to document everything we can about his past and Turner's operation. I have contacts in law enforcement who can help." As they discussed their plan, a sense of hope began to replace the fear and uncertainty that had plagued Clara and Sarah. They knew the road ahead would be challenging, but with Robert's help, they felt more confident in their ability to protect Silver Shadow and bring Turner to justice. That evening, under the cover of darkness, they carefully transported Silver Shadow to the safe house. The horse seemed to sense the gravity of the situation, his eyes reflecting a quiet determination. Back at the farm, Clara and Sarah worked tirelessly, compiling evidence and preparing for the legal battle ahead. With Robert's guidance, they felt a renewed sense of purpose and a growing belief that they could succeed. The following week, Clara and Sarah received an urgent message from one of Robert's contacts, revealing a crucial piece of evidence that could turn the tide in their fight against Turner. The days that followed were filled with a flurry of activity. Clara, Sarah, and Robert worked tirelessly to gather evidence and prepare for the impending legal battle. Despite the mounting tension, a sense of camaraderie and purpose united them. One morning, as they were poring over documents in Clara's kitchen, Robert's phone buzzed with an incoming message. His eyes widened as he read the contents. "Clara, Sarah, you need to see this," he said, his voice tinged with urgency. Clara and Sarah gathered around as Robert showed them the message. It was from one of his contacts in law enforcement, Officer Miller, who had been keeping an eye on Turner's activities. The message contained a series of photos and a detailed report outlining Turner's illegal operations and the evidence needed to bring him to justice. "This is it," Robert said, his eyes gleaming with determination. "This report provides concrete proof of Turner's crimes. We have what we need to take him down." Clara's heart raced with a mix of excitement and relief. "So, what do we do now?" "We need to act quickly," Robert replied. "I'll forward this evidence to the authorities and arrange for a meeting with the district attorney. But we need to be prepared for any retaliation from Turner and his men." Sarah nodded, her expression resolute. "We'll stay vigilant. They won't catch us off guard." As Robert left to make the necessary arrangements, Clara and Sarah continued to fortify the farm and keep a close watch on Silver Shadow. They knew the coming days would be critical, and they couldn't afford to let their guard down. That evening, as they sat by the fireplace, Clara couldn't help but feel a sense of hope. For the first time in weeks, she allowed herself to believe that justice might prevail and that Silver Shadow's tormentors would be brought to account. The following morning, Robert returned with good news. The district attorney had agreed to take the case, and an investigation was underway. However, they needed to ensure Silver Shadow's safety until the trial, as he was a key piece of evidence. "We'll need to move Silver Shadow again, to a location even more secure," Robert said. "I've arranged for a safe transport, and he'll be under constant watch." Clara's heart ached at the thought of parting with Silver Shadow, even temporarily, but she knew it was necessary. "I understand. We need to do whatever it takes to keep him safe." As the transport arrived, Clara gently patted Silver Shadow's neck, her eyes filled with emotion. "Stay strong, boy. We'll see this through together." With a heavy heart, Clara watched as Silver Shadow was led into the transport. She knew the road ahead would be challenging, but she was determined to see it through to the end. As the trial date approached, Clara and Sarah uncovered a surprising ally within Turner's ranks, someone who held the key to unraveling the entire operation and ensuring justice for Silver Shadow. The days grew longer as the trial date loomed closer. Clara, Sarah, and Robert's efforts to protect Silver Shadow and gather evidence had brought them to the brink of a breakthrough. The tension was palpable, and each day felt like a delicate balancing act between hope and apprehension. One evening, as they gathered around the kitchen table, discussing the latest developments, there was a knock at the door. Clara opened it to find a young woman standing on the porch, her eyes wide with urgency. She was dressed in simple, practical clothes, but there was a determination in her gaze that spoke volumes. "Good evening," the woman said, her voice steady despite the tension in the air. "My name is Emily Turner. I believe I can help you." Clara's heart skipped a beat at the mention of the name. "Turner? As in Samuel Turner?" Emily nodded. "He's my father. But I don't share his beliefs or his methods. I've been working undercover to gather evidence against him, and I have information that could be crucial to your case." Sarah and Robert exchanged glances, their expressions a mix of surprise and curiosity. "Please, come in," Sarah said, gesturing for Emily to enter. As they sat around the table, Emily began to explain. "I've been keeping a close eye on my father's operations for years. I couldn't stand by and watch him abuse those horses. I've collected documents, recordings, and witness statements that can prove his crimes beyond a doubt." Robert's eyes gleamed with newfound hope. This could be the key to securing a conviction. "But why come forward now?" Emily's expression softened. "I couldn't stay silent any longer. When I heard about Silver Shadow, I knew it was time to act. That horse has been through so much, and he deserves justice." Clara's heart swelled with gratitude. "Thank you, Emily. Your bravery means the world to us. What do we need to do?" "We need to compile all the evidence and present it to the district attorney," Emily replied. "I'll share everything I have, and we'll work together to build an airtight case." For the next few days, the farmhouse became a hub of activity. Emily shared her trove of evidence, and Robert meticulously organized and verified each piece. Clara and Sarah provided support, ensuring that Silver Shadow remained safe and well cared for. As the trial date approached, they felt a growing sense of determination. With Emily's help, they were closer than ever to bringing Samuel Turner to justice and ensuring that his illegal operations were dismantled. On the eve of the trial, Clara, Sarah, and Robert received an unexpected visit from Turner's men, leading to a confrontation that tested their resolve and put everything they had worked for at risk. The night before the trial was filled with a tense, uneasy calm. Clara, Sarah, Robert, and Emily had gathered all the evidence, and they felt prepared for the day ahead. But the air was thick with anticipation and the sense that something unexpected was looming. As the clock struck midnight, a sudden, sharp knock on the door shattered the quiet. Clara's heart raced as she exchanged a worried glance with Sarah. Robert moved swiftly to the door, cautiously opening it to reveal three men standing on the porch, their expressions menacing. "Evening, folks," the lead man drawled, a cruel smile playing on his lips. "We're here to collect what's rightfully ours." Clara stepped forward, her voice steady despite the fear gnawing at her insides. "Silver Shadow isn't yours. He's under our protection now." The man's smile faded, replaced by a steely glare. "Listen, lady, we don't have time for this. Hand over the horse, or things will get ugly." Robert positioned himself between Clara and the men, his stance protective. "You'll have to go through us first." Emily, standing just behind Clara, spoke up. "My father sent you, didn't he? He won't get away with this." The lead man sneered. "Little Emily, always meddling where you don't belong. This is your last warning." As the tension reached a boiling point, Sarah's eyes scanned the room, landing on the phone. She quickly dialed Officer Miller's number, her voice urgent. "We need help. Turner's men are here." The lead man noticed her actions and lunged towards her, but Robert blocked his path, grabbing him by the arm. A struggle ensued, and the room erupted into chaos. Clara and Emily grabbed whatever they could find to defend themselves, determined to protect Silver Shadow at all costs. Just as it seemed the situation was spiraling out of control, The sound of sirens pierced the night. The men hesitated, their confidence wavering as the flashing lights of police cars approached. Within moments, Officer Miller and his team stormed the farmhouse, quickly apprehending the intruders. As the dust settled, Officer Miller approached Clara and the others. "Are you all right?" Clara nodded, her breath coming in ragged gasps. "We're fine, thanks to you." Officer Miller's expression was serious. "We received your call just in time. These men will be taken into custody, and we'll ensure they're held accountable. But be on your guard. Turner won't give up easily." Robert, still catching his breath, nodded. "We'll be ready. The trial is tomorrow, and with Emily's evidence, we have a strong case." As the police escorted the men away, Clara felt a wave of relief wash over her. They had faced a significant threat and come out stronger on the other side. But the real battle was just beginning, and they knew the trial would be their ultimate test. The day of the trial arrived, and as the courtroom filled with tension, a shocking testimony from an unexpected witness threatened to turn the case in an unforeseen direction. The day of the trial dawned with a heavy sense of anticipation. Clara, Sarah, Robert, and Emily gathered at the courthouse, their hearts pounding with a mix of hope and anxiety. The courtroom was filled with people, all eager to see justice served. As they took their seats, Clara couldn't help but feel the weight of the moment. This was their chance to bring Samuel Turner to justice and ensure Silver Shadow's safety. The prosecution began by presenting the evidence they had meticulously gathered, including documents, recordings, and witness statements. Robert took the stand, delivering a compelling testimony that outlined Turner's illegal operations and the abuse suffered by the horses. As the trial progressed, the tension in the room grew palpable. Turner's defense team did their best to discredit the evidence, but the prosecution remained steadfast. It seemed that justice was within reach. Then, just as the prosecution was about to rest their case, the doors of the courtroom swung open, and a tall, imposing figure strode in. It was Samuel Turner himself, his presence casting a shadow over the proceedings. "Your Honor," Turner's lawyer announced, "we have a new witness who wishes to testify." The judge nodded, and Turner took the stand. His cold, calculating gaze swept over the courtroom, settling on Clara and her friends. Clara's heart sank as she realized the extent of his influence and the lengths he would go to protect his empire. Turner began his testimony with a calm, measured tone. "Ladies and gentlemen of the court, I stand before you today to refute the baseless accusations brought against me. I have always operated within the bounds of the law and treated my horses with the utmost care and respect." Clara clenched her fists, anger boiling within her. She knew Turner's words were a lie, but his charismatic demeanor was swaying the jury. As Turner's testimony continued, it seemed as though their case was slipping away. But then, in a surprising turn of events, Emily stood up, her voice steady and resolute. "Your Honor, I have evidence that directly contradicts Mr. Turner's testimony." The courtroom fell silent as Emily approached the stand, holding a stack of documents. "These records, obtained from my father's private files, prove the existence of illegal activities and the abuse suffered by the horses under his care. This includes Silver Shadow." Turner's face twisted with rage as Emily presented the damning evidence. The jury watched in shock as the truth was laid bare before them. The prosecution seized the opportunity to question Turner further, exposing his lies and manipulations. Turner's composure began to crack, and his true nature was revealed for all to see. As the trial drew to a close, the judge delivered a powerful summation, emphasizing the importance of justice and the protection of innocent lives. The jury deliberated for what felt like an eternity, but eventually, they returned with a verdict. "Samuel Turner, you are found guilty on all counts," the judge declared. "You will be held accountable for your actions, and justice will be served." A wave of relief washed over Clara and her friends. They had faced incredible odds and emerged victorious. Silver Shadow was finally safe, and Turner would no longer be able to harm any more horses. In the aftermath of the trial, Clara, Sarah, Robert, and Emily reflect on their journey and the bonds they have formed, leading to a heartwarming resolution that promises a brighter future for Silver Shadow and all those involved. The days following the trial were a whirlwind of emotions. Clara, Sarah, Robert, and Emily could finally breathe a sigh of relief knowing that Samuel Turner had been brought to justice. Silver Shadow was safe, and the bonds they had formed during this tumultuous journey grew even stronger. As the farm returned to its usual rhythm, Clara took a moment to reflect on everything that had happened. The trials they had faced had tested their courage and resolve, but it had also brought them together in ways they hadn't anticipated. One sunny afternoon, Clara decided to take Silver Shadow for a walk through the meadow where he had found sanctuary. As they strolled through the vibrant landscape, Clara couldn't help but feel a sense of peace. Silver Shadow seemed to share her sentiment, his steps light and his demeanor relaxed. "You're a resilient one, aren't you?" Clara said softly, patting his neck. "We've been through so much, but we're stronger for it." As they reached the edge of the meadow, Clara spotted Emily approaching. She smiled warmly, grateful for the unexpected ally who had played such a crucial role in their victory. "Hey, Clara," Emily called out, waving. "I wanted to talk to you about something." Clara nodded, her curiosity piqued. "Of course, Emily. What's on your mind?" Emily took a deep breath, her expression earnest. "I've been thinking a lot about what comes next. After everything we've been through, I feel like I need to do something meaningful. I'd like to start a foundation to help rescue and rehabilitate horses that have been abused or neglected. And I was hoping you'd consider joining me." Clara's eyes lit up with excitement. "Emily, that's a wonderful idea. I'd be honored to help. Silver Shadow's story has shown me just how important it is to give these animals a second chance." As they discussed their plans, Robert and Sarah joined them, eager to lend their support. The idea of the foundation quickly took shape, and they all felt a renewed sense of purpose. In the weeks that followed, the foundation became a reality. They named it Shadow's Sanctuary, in honor of the horse who had brought them together. The community rallied around their cause, offering donations and support to help them succeed. Clara's farm became the heart of the sanctuary, a place where horses could heal and find new homes. The bonds they had formed during their journey only grew stronger as they worked together to make a difference. One evening, as the sun set over the farm, Clara stood with Silver Shadow by her side, watching the horizon. The journey had been long and challenging, but it had led to something beautiful and meaningful. "Here's to new beginnings, my friend," Clara whispered, feeling a sense of contentment wash over her. "We've come a long way, and there's still so much more to do." As the stars began to twinkle in the night sky, Clara knew that this was just the beginning of a brighter future, for Silver Shadow, for her friends, and for all the horses they would save together.